Hello, today we are going to look at one of the components of data services that allow us to process unstructured data. So we are looking at the text data processing for unstructured files and how we can use the entity extraction transform to extract information from that unstructured data. And then based on the filter that we'll be applying, we'll have the entity extraction. So how do we do that? The first step is to start the data service designer. Once we have connected to a repository, we're going to start by doing a new project, and the project is created. Once we have the project, we want to create a new job. So I will go to the project, right click and do new batch job, and we have our lab 1 job. Once we have the job created, we want to create a workflow or data flow. Here we did a data flow because it's a simple one. So I went back and did right click, create a data flow, drag it in the middle of my job, and rename that data flow. Okay, so once the data flow is created, what do we need to do text processing for unstructured data? We need to be able to read a directory where we have the information. Let me show you what we'll be processing. We have that directory that has the email data that has been extracted from an Exchange server and saved on the file system. So here are multiple emails from Enron, and we are going to parse the data. So let's look at what do we have in the source of those files. We have emails with corporate information and person information, user information. So we'll be using that information. And source, we do the basic extract transform, and then the output. The output we are going to use also another file. So once I have my data flow, I will go to the file and do a new creation for that particular input. The input, I will end up selecting the root. The first selection will be the unstructured text as the type. So there's a drop down that we'll use, and the delimiter will be changed to unstructured text. And then I will set up the directory and start.start to pick up all the files. So that's what we did for the input for the lab. The next portion was what do we want for the output, and that's also another file with a default delimited. And there is one change I did on that for the processing of sometimes the carrier return line feed and the text output as a caret. So on that one, we'll go back to here and just say let's process with that, and then delimiter, and then the path and the file name. So that's what we have for the output. So we did our file, and the next part is how to do that processing for text extraction, text processing. So we need to have one of the transform, And the transform that we selected is for text data processing, entity transform, and the one that's available is a basic extraction. So within that workflow, we just drag the basic extraction inside that data flow, and we ended up with the basic extraction. And then we connected the source to that extractor, and then from that extractor to the target. So that's our workflow. So let's look at the definition of that transform. We have, for input, we have the data. So I selected data and text. For the option, we have the language that is English that was selected, and we also apply some filter on that transform, because we are processing emails, so we have the common organization or commercial, and the person as one of the filter. And for the output, we dragged by selecting ID and parent ID, standard form, type, and source. We see those one in the basic entity transform, and we took the file name and dragged it into the basic extraction. So that was pretty much all the component that we had to build that workflow. So let's see how that works. Execute. And the job is executed on one of the sandbox server, that's the one I used to connect for and that particular repository and job server. And we see the processing with the different threads. And we have a successful completion, no error. So let's look at the output that we had defined. The output was the file. Oh, actually, that was on that particular server with the output text file. And we see the processing of the various files that were in the email directory, and the extraction for the corporate information and the personal information on the filter that we had. So from unstructured data, now we have corporate category and person as a structured data. That workflow was very simple, 2 files and a data transform. So let's look at another one that comes with the blueprint. So let's open the other project, that the text data processing blueprint that's available on the SDN. So the same applies here. We have started with a project. There is a workflow, there is a data flow. The data flow has an input that reads all the files under a particular directory. The extraction for the data transform as the data for the input. The option on that one have no filter, but the language is English. And we have actually selected for the output all the fields that are available in the transform. The output for that is going to go to one of our test database for the text data processing blueprint. So let's run it and see what we have. So the job completed. Let's look at the data. And we have that definition now. So the file that we read, we see that the form, time, the source is always a system here because we run, but doesn't have the system extract from the transform. And now that can be processed. Well, thank you very much for your time, and have a great text processing.